Hey there, hi there, hello there. Welcome to an all-new episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and much, much more. I am your host, Josh Scar, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Alex. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Spring is in the air. There is a touch of rain on the wind. On the wind? Yes. And I have achieved something that I never thought possible, Josh. Twice in a month, I have secured us a guest. A few weeks ago, you bailed out, though. You bailed out, Josh. We had Void
We had
Tales.
miscommunication because you locked me up in a raptor cage because you thought my coffee mug full of soda was cold coffee. And so you turned off the system and you locked me out.
Yes, or you're afraid of Canadians because the
And
Void
now
Tales
I'm
is mostly
sick.
Canadians.
If you hear that nasally in me, it's because I'm sick because Alex locked me outside with the Raptors and I had to run for my life in our lovely spring weather that goes from 70 degrees to 30 degrees to 60 degrees to 30 degrees and so on in such a manner. And then there's occasionally rain that's always frozen, but not quite snow.
No, it just
But yes, your
kinks against
producer
standards.
credit is finally paying off. I will say that.
Yes, and you should be impressed, Josh, because this person I've secured for this week is not only nice, but I've met them in person.
It's a podcaster. That's not possible. You can't
I
be
know.
nice on a podcast.
Nope,
We'll see how it goes.
that's what I expected. But yeah, Josh, I would like to introduce to you my good friend, who I have in writing is I'm her third best friend. DL
I believe the
Taylor.
inscription says fifth.
But
It
the
does
new
in fact say fifth, so you can't prove anything otherwise.
the new book, however, says third. I got an upgrade.
Oh, you moved up the rankings.
Darn right.
I'm curious who you leapfrogged.
I'll take it to my grave.
Well, Alex, who do we have with us?
I just said DL Taylor.
Oh, I thought we got sidetracked. I'm sorry. I'm going to blame the cold drugs. DL Taylor, thank you so much for coming on the show and welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good.
Yes, DL Taylor, I met, much like you, Josh, the better part of a decade ago. The first
Oh, I
time
see. I
met,
thought you were going to talk about you met her on a podcast.
that would have been a better story.
You said much like you, Josh, which I met DL just a few minutes ago as we were ready for the podcast. But you were saying much like how you met me, you met DL. I see what you're saying now. And
He's
I'm going to
trying
keep
to call all of
blaming
us
the
old.
drugs. The drugs are going to cause a lot of problems today, and I hope it makes for good listening.
I'm in so much trouble. I'm stuck between two pedantic people.
Yay!
But no, I met her all these years ago in a basement through a mutual friend and pastor. That's not how I met you. I met you at work. But when I met her, I never knew that she could achieve such heights as to break my heart by writing not one book that I bought 3 times, but 2 books that I hope to buy 6 times. Last year, she released The Beast We Bury, a book that contains words and on pages, on paper.
Every single one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can find places that people can talk to you about it, tell you the story in musical ways. Sometimes you can read it on electronics. And after a year, almost a year later to the date, she released her second book. And that's why I brought her here, Josh. 1, because I kept forgetting to schedule her. And 2, because she just released her second book.
Synergy.
Exactly.
Heck yeah.
Considering I asked her 19 months ago to be on the podcast and then never coordinated a damn thing.
That
Well, I
sounds
think we
about
finally
right.
found our niche. So like our groove. We found our groove. So I
Yeah.
think now is like the best time to be on here. If we had her on 19 months ago, we would have been like, so how's it going? Whereas now we're much more free flowing. We're having fun. We're 250 episodes in almost.
That's awesome.
Would you like to be the moderator or 250th episode? Let's ask live.
Me?
Yes.
Those are usually my
So then I would
duties.
ask you questions?
Yes.
I could ask you guys questions on your podcast. That's fine with me.
Book it. It's done. I have no idea when 250 is. Is that 2 weeks from now or like a month?
250 is 3 weeks away. We would be
Perfect.
recording that. We'd be recording that the 2nd or the 3rd of May.
Are you free, DL?
I am not actually. I'm sorry.
Oh, darn.
May is a busy time for me.
Is it busy because you're an author?
It is busy because I'm an author. It's been like, ever since release, there's been pretty much some kind of author event like almost every weekend and sometimes more than one a week. It's been very busy. It's been really fun. Every single event is super different. It's like a whole different crowd, whole different vibe, and I really enjoy them. But it definitely is busy.
Well, DL, before we really dive into the books and everything, we always have the most important question to ask you. First question we ask every guest we have, it is, what you doing? When you're not making money writing words on paper, when you're not doing podcasts and promoting your books on author tours, what do you do for fun? What do you do to just kick back, relax, and enjoy yourself?
I read a lot. I read like so many books a year. And I always read a minimum of 5 books at a time in 5 different categories, currently 7. But I always read a bestseller, a classic, a children's classic, a friend recommendation, a mood read, and a craft book simultaneously so that I can switch between them. It shouldn't work. I don't know why it works, but it does. Everybody gives me the look that's on your faces right now when I tell them about my system, but it is genuinely the only way I can read. And I love it. And I read so much with that method. So reading, I also do a lot of gaming. I do a lot of tabletop. As Alex knows, that is in fact how we met. And started DMing recently once a week, which has been really fun and rewarding. Yeah, just a big old nerd.
So I'm curious what the system is for 7 books at once. Like, do you just do like one chapter and then move to the next one, or you just like have a cutoff
No,
point?
thank you for asking a follow-up question because I never know how much people want to hear about it,
Oh,
and I
I
could
want a
talk about
lot
it
of
for
detail.
I need details. My wife reads like 6 books a month, like, but I don't know that she
Yeah.
can do multiple at once. So I'm really curious how that would work.
So each category is on its own. I don't get a new book in that category until I finish the book in that category. The classics come from, I have scratch off posters. So, like top 100 children's classics, top 100 overall classics, and I scratch them off whenever I finish them. And it's really exciting for me. The bestseller lists, I like when I finish the bestseller that I'm reading, I do YA bestsellers because that's what I write, YA. And I look at the New York Times bestseller list, paperback, hardback, USA Today, and indie, cross off all the ones I've already read, which is generally about half of them, and then pick from what's remaining. I favor my own genre, but I will read any genre that's on the bestseller list because I just like to know what's doing well and what's out there and what the market is like. The friend recommendation, I have an extensive spreadsheet. So whenever someone recommends a book to me, I will add it to my spreadsheet. There's like a seriousness level. Like if you just say I'm reading this and I like it, that's not going to count. You have to earnestly ask me to read it and indicate that you really want to discuss it with me because that's what that one is for. If a person that I likes a book and wants to discuss it with me, I will generally read that book. But I have a lot of book friends, so it's like the list is like 30 books long at this point. But yeah, so I cycle through those, and then when I finish them, I call the person and talk about it, or sometimes we'll text during. The craft books I read based on what I'm like. What if I get stuck on a thing, I'll get a craft book on that thing. Uh, Currently reading a rom-com screenwriting craft book, and it's been really fun. Is that all the categories?
Have you gotten to the chapter about the big romantic gesture at the airport at the end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a chapter on just all the beats overall generally, and then going into depth with them, which I'm very familiar with obviously with the story beats at this point. But I always like the refresher on them. But it also this particular book does like case studies on movies. So it'll break down individual movies and have like an entire chapter on the craft of that movie, which I really enjoy. But as far as practically how this works, I genuinely I have a specific order. The reason they're in different categories is so that I can see what I'm in the mood for at that time. Like I try not to have, all fantasy or all like really literary high language, I need to like break it up with different sorts of things. So I'll have a specific order. And then I start reading one. If I'm into it, I'll just keep going. If I'm not into it, after a page, I switch and I keep going until I get to the one I'm into, and then I'll read that one. And if I'm not into any of them, then I just keep reading one page from each book and cycle through. And it shouldn't work, but it does. It just works for me. Because everything that I read, I either want to read or I want to have read. Look on your face.
I've never been able to, like, if I have oddity, and I have no idea when it developed, but if I start a book, I have to like the author's voice. And if I
Yeah.
can't stand it, I put it down. Like, for some reason, Anne Rice and Michael Crichton, anything
Mhm.
they've written, I can just read. It doesn't matter the genre, it doesn't matter anything. But like Stephen King, Kuntz, I can't stand.
So I do read books that I can't stand
Oh,
because they're in a category that I want to be well versed. Like if it's
yeah,
there are classics that I can't stand, but I want to be well versed in classics. There are bestsellers that I can't stand, but I want to know why they're so popular. You know, there's
yeah,
an external reason beyond my own enjoyment for me to read it because of the category structure that I have.
yeah. But once I like get past, because I can tell within the first page, if I like the author's voice or not. So once I get
Yeah.
past the first page, and if I'm hooked by the end of the first chapter, I can't switch to go doing something else. So
Mhm.
I'm impressed that you're able to categorize and compartmentalize these books. Do you ever get confused, like, if for some
I
reason you're
genuinely don't, dude. I never do. I get asked that every time, and
yeah.
I just don't.
What if, like, the main characters have the same name?
I try not to do that.
Okay.
That's part of the reason that I have different types of categories is so that the voices are like if I'm reading like 4 heavy fantasies at a time, I'll switch one out because it's too much, you know? I'll have to have a different sort of voice to break it up. But I try to have a unique variety so that it's not like that.
Okay. Alright. 'Cause that would throw me off. The only thing I will say, the only time that I can do something similar is if I'm going through, RPG source books. I can, go
Mhm.
through different rule sets because in my head, they've already just been categorized. Like, "Oh, yeah, this is
Right.
creatures for this. Oh, yeah, this is a new system I'm learning." Um, the only thing I've done similar is I am forcing myself to finish It by Stephen King because I've
Mhm.
never read anything by him that I can get through more than 3 pages, and it's now been about 3 months. And so I
That's a
can
rough pick.
well, I'm reading on my Kindle, so at the bottom, I can see, like, I'm 25% through, and I'm like, "Wait a second, this is a
Yeah.
1,200 page book. I'm 300 pages in, then"
1,200 pages?
yeah,
That's too many.
and then I like, yeah, so I'm 300 pages in, and none of them have made it to Derry yet, and I'm
Yeah.
just going here, and I'm like, "You know what? I need to read something I enjoy," because,
Yeah.
1, Stephen King cannot write women. And 2,
In that book in particular.
yeah, there's a part with Bev where she just broke
Yeah.
kind of have you read it?
I haven't read it. I've
Okay.
seen the movies, and I've talked to people who have read the books, but I have not personally read it, no.
Well, there's a part at the beginning where she's leaving her abusive husband because she feels the call to return to Derry, and she's on an airplane, and there was a row between them, and he mentions a few times that she literally ripped nails off of her fingers. And then, like, the guy's hitting on her, offering to bandage her fingers while they're on the flight, and she's thinking about how hot he would be to get in bed and how rigid his manhood is. And I'm like, I don't think this is what a normal woman would be thinking about at this moment after 2 hours ago having been assaulted.
Well, not to spoil the book as well, but I'm pretty sure when they're kids, she sleeps with every member of the Losers Club.
Every single one,
I
yeah, in
ha
the sewers.
I haven't made it that far. Guys, thanks for spoiling a 40-year-old book.
Have fun.
You're welcome. I mean, at least you're mentally prepared for it now, and you're not like, "Holy crap, a 15-year-old girl is sleeping with all of her friends at once?"
But that's the only book
Yeah.
I've been able to I just, like I get through, like, maybe I try to get through a percentage a day if I can.
Well, that's why my system is actually
Yeah.
helpful because then because I have to read them in the order that I set. That means like if
Mm.
there's one that's really hard for me to get through, I'll put the one I want to read most right after it. So I have to read at least
Oh.
one page before I can get to the next one. And I get through it eventually, you know, it might take a long time. But then sometimes I reach a point where I'm like, I need to read something else in this category. And then I'll just like finish it, you know, just dive in.
You'll just sit in a corner sulking while you finish the book.
I hardly ever DNF a book because I like to have, well, partly because to me, the ending of a book is the most important part. I
Yeah.
can't, as I'm approaching the ending, I'll know like the star range that I'm going to give it,
Mhm.
but a really good ending would push it a full star up and a really bad one would push it a full star down. So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I would never leave a review on something that I had not fully finished because I think you don't really know a book until you read the entirety of it, you know?
Yeah, I feel the same way about movies, is that there's very, very few movies that I have not finished, 'cause I
Yeah,
joined IMDb back in, like, the late '90s when it first started, and I've rated over, I think, 4,000 things now.
that's a lot.
Yeah, I know. We were we were watching some game show. No, I think it was Jeopardy about a month ago. One of the person's factoids was how many movies they'd rated on IMDb, and I paused it and then went, "That's not impressive," because I looked at my
That's not as much as mine.
I was like,
That's
"I could be,"
funny.
but I make a point that I have to finish it. There, and Liz and I, Liz, my wife, we have this we both hated watching MacGruber, and
Mhm.
about halfway through the movie where she was just done with it, she was like, "You wanna go get ice cream? You wanna do," like, she's trying to bribe me to turn off the movie, and I'm just sitting there, arms crossed going, "I'm finishing this damn thing. I can't stand," and then she is defeated on the other side of the couch going like,
Oh, poor
yeah.
Liz.
Well, it was also the apartment, which was it's just a small, it's just a small contained area. So there's the living room and then the kitchen bedroom. So she can't run away
Mhm.
from the sound of it. But then I'm like, I got to the end of it, went to my laptop, put the rating of 1 star in, and I'm like, "You wanna do something?" And she went, "No. I'm going to bed. I don't want ice cream. We're done."
But there is something so satisfying about finishing a bad book or movie and being able to put that little one-star review.
Oh, yeah. There
Yeah.
is. There is, and, like,
I don't do reviews, publicly anymore. They're just for myself, but I still find it satisfying to do it just for me.
do you have a secret username that you go and rate books and movies?
No, I use Bookmore, which is just
Oh.
private. It's not public. On my Goodreads, which I have under a secret name, I have all the books that I've read, but I don't have any ratings or reviews on them, just completed.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's
Yeah.
good. You don't want somebody, like,
Yeah.
finding
I'm
it
trying
and
to make friends, you know what I mean?
as long as they don't go higher up the ranking than me, I'm clinging to my 3rd best friend over. Now, a question I do have for you. Your first book, The Beast We Bury.
Mhm,
You have famously said, as, in the acknowledgments of your 2nd book, that you were not planning a duology.
mhm.
Are you planning a trilogy?
I am not. So it was a 2-book deal,
Mhm.
which means it it's closed now. But also, if I were planning a trilogy, I would have made the overall story beats hit differently. I think if I were to write anything in this world again, it would be with different main characters, or perhaps in a different realm.
Okay, okay. Before I make my ask, we have to at least discuss a little bit about your book. The Beast We Bury is about a young woman approaching her 16th birthday / assurance day. Well, she will be named the second in prime in control of the kingdom, the Cliff Kingdom. No, wait, what is it?
The Cliff Realm.
The Cliff
Yeah.
Realm? And it starts off with her father's not a very good person, supposedly.
Not a popular character. No, a lot of people
Um,
not big fans.
in this world, if you are prime, therefore leader of the realm, you must have magic because of the broken citadel in which if you go through the magical portal, you end up with some kind of power or come back scarred or don't come back at all.
Right.
And so her father has this power in which if he touches you, you are compelled to do what he said. And her power that he discovered is that if she kills something, she's able to absorb that beast within her. And the question I have for you, well, I have two questions, but the one that I'm really excited about will come later. But this one, a question I have for you is everything okay with you and your parents? I have a because her father's a bastard and her mother is a wilting flower, and so I needed to ask: is everything okay? Because I've met your mom; she's lovely.
She's a dear. First of all, the dad's power is not not compelling obedience. He can freeze people.
Oh,
Like
I thought it was
freeze
like
their body,
oh, I thought it was
but
like
they
when
have
he did
to.
it that it compelled
Yeah, they
that it
have to
made.
physically listen to him
Oh,
when
okay.
they're frozen. They can't turn away or look away, um, and their body organs start to shut down the longer that he holds them in this frozen state. My relationship with both of my parents is good. The events of this book obviously didn't happen in real life. I've never fought a jaguar, but a lot of the emotions come from a real place, from a certain point in my childhood, roughly around the age that Nance is. The book definitely comes from a personal place, um, and is sort of a obviously like a grotesque rendering, an exaggerated, uh, dramatic, fantastical depiction of real emotions that I felt as a teenager.
I was giving Josh room to speak.
I was trying to figure out how to transition my question because Alex was kind enough to lend me his copy of the book that you did so graciously inscribe for him as his number 5 best friend, as your number 5 best friend.
For the record, he did ask me to write
And it is legally binding.
Okay.
I got through the first chapter and then I had to close the book
Yeah.
because I realized that I was not going to be able to finish it if I had to read it because I read so damn slow. So I immediately went and bought the audiobook,
Mm,
which I was very grateful for because reading that first chapter, I was very engrossed and I could hear the audiobook in my head of like obviously that's what reading silently is you reading the audiobook to yourself.
yeah.
It's called reading. Um but I could hear like the dramatization of it in my
Mhm,
head through the production of it because I really enjoy audiobooks. I
mhm,
take in books and stories better through audio than I do reading. I could read something 1,000 times, especially instructions,
mm,
but I will not understand it until I see it or hear it, and then I can do it.
yeah.
So like reading is a chore for me just because I don't take stuff in that way. So like I was so grateful to find out that there were audiobooks, not just for this one, but for the sequel. And so I bought that immediately and I listened to it over the course of like a day and a half. And then I bought the second one because that hook at the end of the first book, I was like, I gotta know. Alex only told me one, but I gotta know. So I bought the second book and I got through that by the end of yesterday. Bravo, just off the top of my on top of everything else, wonderful stories. Um, but I really got to know as an opportunity to talk to someone who writes fantasy. Obviously, you just said you're writing from a place of personal history to create an allegory for this world. But when you're creating a fantasy world, where do you try to draw the line of like not only how deep do you go into the fantasy world because you have to keep things relatable. So you like obviously you can't just say, "Oh, we have fish, but we call them smegborns" or something like that. You have to make things relatable for the reader so they understand, but also like you have to make things fantastical enough to immerse them. So like where did you find yourself in that process of creating that depth and how far did you go into like the rules of your world?
My general rule on world building is that it has to serve the story. Because if you're going off on a tangent about some aspect of your magical world that really has nothing to do with these particular characters in this particular narrative, then you're kind of wasting time. unless it contributes to mood. Mood can serve the story, setting can serve the story. But I think every part of the book should be serving the story. So I go as deep into the rules as is necessary for this particular narrative and this particular story. And sometimes I do side writing just for myself to figure things out. I'll just like write a paragraph or a chapter that no one's ever going to see just so that I in my own head can work through something. I have a lot of spreadsheets because that's fun for me, but it doesn't make it into the actual book unless it's going to serve the narrative. So for this particular one, because the magic embodies sort of the themes of the book, I spent a lot of time figuring out the magic and the manifestations of it and how it works for different people and sort of all of that building. I went into comparatively less things like, the societal rules outside of the castle or like inter-realm relations outside of how they affected this particular narrative, just because, that's not what this particular story was about. This particular story was about struggling with a really dark magic and trying to find compassion when you have not been shown compassion yourself and things like that. And so, yeah, so very deep in those areas. I spend a lot of time in those areas, but in wider building, world building, comparatively less so.
You didn't feel the need to dedicate like 16 pages to an Elven script for them singing a song for some reason?
Listen, Tolkien's great. This is no shade to Tolkien. And that I do think contributes to, like, one of the things about Tolkien's story is that it is a huge and immersive
Yeah.
world. And that is part of, like, that's necessary for his narrative because the idea is there's this huge, huge immersive world with, good and evil powers battling. And it's this one tiny hobbit that's taking this ring.
yeah.
And so I would argue that Tolkien's, 16-page Elven songs are necessary to show you how immense this world is and how incredible it was that our hero is this one dude with hairy feet,
Oh, no, I completely agree with that. It's just the Lord of the Rings copy that I was given to read when I was maybe 13 or 14. I had never particularly liked fantasy up until like I somehow stumbled going from Wayside Stories at West Side School to reading Jurassic Park. Like
Mhm.
that, I leaped directly to that. And so I kind of miss a lot of stuff. And so when Lord of the Rings was coming out, my friend's like, "Oh, I'm so excited. You got to read. Here's Lord of the Rings. Read it." And I'm like, "Okay, why?" And he went, "Oh, because of this." He's telling me this stuff. He's like, "Just read the book." So I opened the book and I'm reading through it. I'm like, "Oh, okay, there's some stuff. Okay, I'm not sure what Tom Bombadil is. That's kind of weird." And I'm going through it and I get to like the first page of all Elven singing and it's in Elvish. And
Mhm.
the copy he gave me does not include a translation. There's no appendix. There's nothing. So I am stuck trying to figure out, am I missing something? And I'm going through the pages and and I'm like, okay, it's gotta be in the appendix, not in the appendix. Is there a dictionary? Because a lot of these have dictionaries or references. There's an index. No. And so I go to him and I'm like, what does all this stuff say? He's like, oh, you haven't read the Silmarillion. I'm like, well, the what? And it happened. I was talking to my friend at church.
It sounds like a bad friend. No
Right?
one
He didn't
introduces you
set
to
you
Lord
up
of the
for
Rings
success.
and then goes, "You didn't read the Silmarillion first?" Like that's bad friendship
Yeah.
right there.
So my youth pastor who was there, he went, "Oh," and he grabbed a copy of the book that I was looking at, and he went, "Oh, I'll lend you mine. It has the translations." So I finished on his.
Sounds like he's a good friend.
Yeah, he was a good youth pastor. I miss him dearly.
Mm.
But I have nothing against Tolkien. It's just my first introduction to fantasy was so brutal of the Lord of the Rings.
It's funny to imagine you not liking fantasy like a time before. It's funny to imagine.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. Like, all I read was political thrillers, Grisham, or the ennui of Anne Rice.
Yeah.
I was flipping between, like, I'm, like, 13 years old, and I'm, like, finishing Jurassic Park, waiting for The Lost World to come out, and then I'm reading Interview with the Vampire, And one of my friends is like, "Have you read Goosebumps?" I'm like, "What's a goosebump?" He hands it to me. I finish it like during that hour of class and hand it back before lunch. You're like, "Yeah, it's neat. Got any more?"
There's a couple more, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you can't knock Wayside Stories from West Side School, man. It's amazing.
I didn't.
No,
I
I know.
wouldn't. I read those too.
But so one of the things I particularly enjoy about the Beast We Bury is having known you for a while now. I did not expect you to be have what is the phrase called? Comparative POVs, dueling POVs.
Dual POV, yeah.
Yeah, dual POV. Yes, to be bouncing between Mancella, our heroine, and Silver. I don't know if
Our
hero's
rogue.
hero's the right word. I still have some questions about their relationship, but the juxtaposition of a person in Mancella who's being subjugated and forced through her role in life, and Silver, who is dealing with the societal subjugation of who he is in life.
Yeah.
I particularly enjoyed that. You write vaguely 15 to 18-year-old boys well.
Thank you.
And may I say, we need more Vi. Is it Vi?
Yeah,
We need more Vi because she's lovely.
she's great.
And we also need more Rooftop
Mhm.
because there's nothing better than a gangly lad who enjoys baking.
A gangly lad. Yeah, he's my cinnamon roll character. I
He
really
is.
enjoy him. I've written some side stories of them that will probably never see the light of day, but I like them as well.
Are you going to publish them on an archive of our own, pretending not to be you?
No, no, I will not.
I am so happy about your book because your thrill of being published is just encourageable, and just you can tell that you love that you've written this stuff. And okay, wait, I finally remembered my question. All right, you brought it up like side stories like twice.
Mhm.
I request politely that you
Absolutely not.
don't have to publish it.
No,
You can
I
just
can't. It's just for me.
no,
It's not for
no.
academics.
It's not about any character we've mentioned yet.
Okay.
I need to know what is Mara's story between
Mhm.
her being pushed through the broken citadel
Mhm.
and then the middle of the second book, because the
Mhm.
second you mentioned that her older sister Mara was ineligible to be prime but had been pushed through the broken citadel, this magical force, and she was lost within it. And then I believe that you ended that chapter with saying that like she would never forget the haunting look in her sister's eye because
Mhm.
the citadel way messed her up.
Yeah.
Took her eye, parts of her mouth, her lips, and stuff like that. So she wears this ornate scarf over the half of her scarred face and around her neck and stuff. I immediately was like, I want to know more about her. And then
Mhm.
you tease me by only having her appear now and then.
Yeah.
And then you
They're actually
Alex has
in earlier
Alex has
drafts,
an
there was a
I can
lot.
fix her problem.
Yes, I do have an I can fix her problem. I also have a she can make me worse problem, but that's not
Ah.
important. I want to know more about her. And I'm not saying I'm disappointed, but in the second book where she's not prominently as featured, I was like, no, I need more Mara. What is going on with her? What is her story? What is this dark figure? Why is her room weird? I need
Why is
more.
her room weird?
Because when you introduce her room, and all I could remember is being a teenage boy in like one of my girlfriends, not girlfriends, room, and being like, this is so much weirder. Mine has Jurassic Park posters and an X-Files poster and a Star Wars poster. This is way weirder. Why does everything smell good? And her room smells good, and there's things bubbling and crackling, and of course, have you ever seen my bedroom when you've been at my house? Our bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a painting that hangs on my side of the bed. It's this dark painting, but someone in Liz's family did, of
Mhm.
purple and black setting sun with some trees. And the second you described Mara's bedroom and she has this black void of a painting over her bed, I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can relate to her.
That's funny.
So if you ever feel compelled to write like a short story or novella involving her, I would really, really, you don't have to publish it. I just want to read it because
I appreciate that.
in my
She's one
head,
of my favorite characters. She was actually one of the hardest for me
oh,
to nail down as a character. She ended up in a place that I really like. She ended up pretty complex, but for sure there's a lot of history that didn't end up on the page, and one of the reasons for that is that if I ever do write another book in this world, she's one of my top 3 for main characters of that. And I would really enjoy that because she's sort of a foil for Nance in terms of how they deal with similar events. And I relate to both of them. I've had, Nance tries, she fights, and she wants to be better, and she's willing to dive out there and make moves even if she doesn't know what she's doing. And Mara is significantly more um, sort of introverted, held back, self-reflective, and they've both been through a lot, but they respond to it very differently. And one of my favorite things in the sequel is the way that they try to relate to each other despite being so different, because one of the things that really was taken from them in their childhood was their friendship with each other, because they each picked different ways to protect themselves, and those ways were somewhat at odds. But yeah, I'm glad that you like her because I like her a lot too. Her room is weird, but it's her room is a reflection of her inner state because she, like I said, she's more introspective. She likes to work through things, and she works through them with what is kind of almost a macabre artistic expression. In book 1, she has all kinds of there's the assortment of things in her room are in some ways a foreshadowing to her ending. And if you reread it after reading the ending, you can see some of that. But it's also uh, like she just likes to find broken things. She likes to find things that don't belong places because she feels a little broken and she feels like she doesn't always fit in things, and she like relates to that kind of object. Um, and she expresses herself. Her room is sort of the only place that she feels safe and able to express herself. And you see that reflect where she's at differently in book 1 versus book 2, but definitely both times it's pretty weird. She's a weird dark girl, and I really like that about her.
as someone who loves the craft,
Yeah.
I'm a fan. So
Thank you.
I will eagerly be a beta reader for the Mara short story novella, or just pay you directly for those pages that you're holding back about her.
As an audiobook listener, I was very curious to know if you had any input on who the narrators were chosen for
I
with
did.
the books and how involved you were.
Yeah, for sure. So they sent me auditions, which was incredible. They first asked me like, is there anyone you're interested in? And because I'm over prepared for every step of the process, I already had a list. Because I had gone through the like Macmillan audio sort of page and just listened to samples of a bunch of different books in my genre and wrote down the voices that I thought I would like for each character. And some of those were available and some of them were not available. But they reached out to those and had like an open audition and sent me all the auditions that they got. And when I got to Brenda Scott Laszlo, who was ultimately the voice of Nance, it made me cry. Like, I really wept because it was just so her. Because Nance is actually kind of a difficult character to voice because she's very emotional. She's an emotional character, but I don't want her to sound, weak or whiny. I don't want her to sound self-indulgent. I want her to sound emotional but still strong, and that's a hard note to hit. And when I got to Brenda's um, reading, she just nailed it, and I was crying. So that was my most important thing for Mance's voice. For Silver's voice, my most important criteria was, can they deliver a joke? Because I've heard a lot of audiobook narrators who will read something, and this is no shade to anyone else who auditioned for my specific thing. That's just what my criteria was going into it. Because I've heard a lot of audiobook narrators who will read a joke as though it's not a joke, and it always bothers me every time. And Silver is someone who deals with his pain through humor. And so I needed to know that the person reading it was going to be someone who could read the cadence of a joke correctly. And so when I got to the audition of Jake Chronister, who is the voice of Silver, he made me laugh a few times. He clearly understood that this was humor, and he was delivering it as though it was humor. And I was like, okay, that's the guy then for that. And they both, he's more on the dry end of the spectrum, and I liked that contrast. That Brenda read it very emotional, very dramatic, and like her whole heart is in her reading, and Jake is more wry, like
He's very Flynn Rider.
yeah. Yeah. And so I felt that the contrast with each other was going to work really well, and that they embody each of their individual characters really well. And I'm very happy with the audiobook that resulted. I was psyched. I was really lucky to work with both of them.
After only having read chapter 1, I'd kind of locked in on a voice in my head, which I don't know if you've watched Free Run Beyond Journey's End, but like from the tone that I was getting from Mance through chapter 1 was just someone who was like so beaten down and just so used to the way life is that she was just very flat and like almost emotionless.
Mm.
And so when I got to the book and I heard this like not exasperated in like a bad way, but like she's just so tired of like, I have to do this again. I have to this isn't what I want to do. I'd rather be doing good things with my life. And like as I walked through the book, I was like, I get the choice now. But it was a really strange adjustment having gone from like having the voice in my head of this character to getting the audiobook and being like, this is probably who they chose to and how they wanted to have this portrayed. So
Yeah.
like, who the hell am I to say like this isn't right? But no, it really grew on me, especially towards the end of the second book. I was like, I fully understand what they're going with this performance and the narration.
Yeah.
And then Jake kind of really sold the rogue style of personality for Silver as well.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things about Mance is that she is exhausted, but she's in fact not beaten down. She never gets used to the pain. She feels it fully every single time. And that's really what I wanted to be embodied in the narrative voice. Yeah.
I have another question about the choosing somebody. Can you, once you've picked somebody, can you give them feedback? Like,
no.
oh,
So once I pick somebody, they do the full thing, and I don't hear it until the very end.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So like,
The only things I might chime in on are like pronunciations of names or things like that if they ask me questions.
yeah, if you listen to the guy with oh man, I know James Masterson does it. The guy who was Spike, the Butcher books. He's a wizard in
That's fun.
Chicago. I cannot remember his drives me nuts.
He's a wizard in Chicago?
Yes, the character is a wizard in Chicago. There's like a ton of books about it, about him. He was even they even had briefly a sci-fi TV show, and I cannot remember it, and it is driving me nuts. And Josh, please edit this out.
Merlin?
This is so dumb, and I this is the Dresden Files. Harry Dresden. The audiobook narrator is Spike
That's awesome.
from Buffy. And the first 2 or 3 books, he mispronounces certain words and then starts pronouncing them correctly on book 4. And it's obviously somebody told him, like, that's not how that's pronounced. Kind of like Benedict Cumberbatch not being able to pronounce penguin.
Penguins.
But I always had wondered that, like, once you've like settled on the theme and the voice, can you like be like, can you do another take and make Mara sound this way, or a female guard sound like this? It's just once you've found that tone, you're just good. Like, how long is their
And
audition?
listen, publishing is absolutely wild and inconsistent. So it is possible that I've been on panels before where we get like an audience question and they'll be like, how much say do you have on your book cover? And like the author's next will be like, no say at all. They just told me this is what it is. And I'm like, what? I had so much say. Why didn't you get say? What do you mean? So like it's wildly different imprint to imprint, author to author. So it is possible that other people got more say than I did. I'm happy with the amount of say that I got. Yeah. I was really, I care a lot about audiobook voices, and I was really happy with who we got, and I was glad I got to pick. But yeah, I didn't have any input beyond the initial pick. And answer your question, the auditions were the first, 5 minutes of chapter 1 of each of the voices, chapter 1.
Oh, so that's a good long time that you have then to hear.
Yeah, it was a lengthy, for sure. You could really get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad they didn't come and audition in front of you in person. You're like, we're just
That
gonna.
is not too bad. I would have been terrified. I already, even as it is, hated saying no to the other people because they did a great job, And I'm so glad that I didn't have to personally say you didn't get it, because I really thought about it. I was like, man, a lot of these people did great. I'm sure they would have been awesome, but I just felt really strongly about the 2 that I wanted. But yeah, if they were in front of me and I had to say no, I would have just been like, can you all make one? I don't know. I couldn't do it. I would hate it.
See, I know I could not do it because I am such a terrible person at delivering any kind of bad news. But there's a part of me that would just love that. Be like, if you were just sitting there like, okay, all right, so we're going to have our female voice read with my husband to balance the silver. And then the male voice will read with me. Just be like, listen, you're not doing it for me, male voice. And do you like her husband? He doesn't like you. We have to decide together.
I could never say that to a person's face. Impossible. Especially now, having my own art out there for public consumption, I'm even more like hesitant to criticize anybody's art because I know what it's like now. No. It's rough. It's hard because you put your heart out there. And the thing about art is that no matter what piece of art we're talking about, some people are going to love it and some people are going to hate it, and that's just how art works. But yeah, I could never to someone's face. Not a chance.
No, I would not be able to. I would just be so happy somebody's just like, wait, you have a reel for me to listen to somebody reading my stuff?
Yeah.
I will go with them.
It was an exciting day. I paced around my neighborhood for like an hour just listening to them over and over.
Well, since I did not do the audiobook versions, did you keep the same narrators for the second book?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Was that process any different? Did you have like feedback? Because Mance is very different in the second book as she's evolved as a person. Did you have to did they have to re-audition? Did you provide like kind of feedback, or you did?
They just kind of automatically had it. They didn't even ask me again if I wanted them to, which I did want them to. So great news. But they just gave it to them right away for consistency, I assume, and also because they did a great job.
All right. I want to be friends with my audiobook narrator.
I've messaged Brenda and a little bit with Jake, not as much, but yeah, she's lovely, and I had to tell her that she did such a great job.
Oh, that's nice.
So what was the process like to get the book made? So did a publisher come to you and say, hey, do you have any ideas? Or were you pitching the story?
Not at all. Wow, no.
So you were going around pitching the story to publishers and I can do this. And...
No, way before that. First you get an agent. So
what's an agent?
An agent is a
You went
person.
proactive and got yourself an agent. You said, I'm doing this.
Yeah. This book was the 6th that I finished. First 5 are not good. They're not publishable. They were just me learning craft, you know. I did NaNoWriMo when that program still existed, and it's like you write a book in a month situation. So you write a book in the month of November, and then I would spend the rest of the year editing it. And I would always reach this point where I was like, okay, I know what I did wrong here. It would be easier to start over than it would be to keep trying to fix this. And The Beast We Bury was the first one that I just couldn't let go of. I never reached that point where I was like, I want to start over. I was like, no, I'm gonna stick with this. And so I worked on it for like, I don't know, 3 years, I think, before I started querying it. So querying is a process where it's fun because it's all totally inconsistent. Every agency has its own requirements. But essentially, you do a query letter, which is like first the metadata of the book, you know, like word count, genre, comps if you have them, and you should. And then a short summary, pitch, and then info about you, you know, if you've published anything before or whatever. And you send that to agents. Some of them also require a synopsis. Some of them also require first 5 pages or first chapter or something like that. Some of them have like a full questionnaire they want you to fill out. And then if they're interested, they request the full manuscript. So I was querying for about a month, which is a very short amount of time to be querying. I know people who have queried for years. It's a tough process. It's tough to be in the trenches, the query trenches, we call them. But I was really fortunate. My agent, I sent it to her on like, I don't know, a Saturday, I think. And she requested the full on Monday and then read it in one sitting that night and offered the next day, or asked to set up a call to offer the next day, which I was in court at the time. I was an attorney and I read this email waiting for my clients' cases to be called. And I had to like put on my professional face and like finish all of my court cases, and then like ran to my coworker's office and just started sobbing. Um, so she offered, and then there's like this 2-week period where you let everyone else that you sent the manuscript to know that you have an offer and see if they want to offer. But I was pretty sure pretty quickly that I wanted to go with Catherine Cho, who was my agent. So I accepted her offer. She and I did a few rounds of edits together. She's a very editorial agent, which I love about her. And then, so that was like early fall. We did a few rounds of edits for a few months. We went on submission in early the next year, which submission is essentially querying again, but this time with editors. And this time it's your agent who reaches out instead of you. She was like, are there any editors in particular you want to reach out to? And I was like, I guess I could come up with a list. She was like, no, I would prefer to do it. And I was like, I would also prefer you to do it. And she was like, great. So she curated the list of editors that she thought that she had a good relationship with and that she thought would like it. And I was on submission again for about a month before Brian, my now editor, reached out to Catherine, because everything goes through your agent after you have an agent. It's a lot like having a lawyer. And he sent like this really kind email about all the things that he loved about it and that he was going to take it to acquisitions, which is the next stage where he sort of pitches it to his imprint, and they decide. Basically, the editor's like, I'm artistically interested. I'm going to pitch it to my imprint to see if we're like financially interested, if we think we could sell this, if it's going to work. So sometimes things die at acquisitions, but he was like, you know, here's all the things I like about it. And this is a planned duology, correct? Can I have a synopsis for the sequel? And I was like, what sequel? What do you mean? I do not have one. And Catherine was like, don't worry about it. I emailed him. I let him know it's a standalone. And then like 5 minutes later, she was like, okay, so he is most interested if it's a duology. Do you have any pitches? And in that moment, I did not. I had no idea. And then I had to go to court again. I had like a whole hearing up that went through lunch. And the whole time I'm like trying to present my arguments and advocate for my client. And there's just like panicked screaming in the back of my head as I'm trying to figure out a pitch to come up with. But one of the reasons that Catherine is great as an agent is we went just back and forth for about 24 hours, me sending pitches, just like genuinely like stream of consciousness emails to her and her sending back what she liked, what she didn't like, what she thought would work better. And we went back and forth for about 24 hours and landed on a pitch for the sequel that I was like, so it's wild that I didn't have it 24 hours before, because once I had it, I was like, it has to be this. Like, if I'm writing a sequel, this is the only thing it could possibly be. I got so attached to the idea so quickly. And fortunately, he loved it, and he went to acquisitions and they loved it, and he offered. And then I had to write the first thing that I wrote after he offered, before he even gave me feedback on the full manuscript, was that epilogue at the end of book 1. He was like, we have to make it open to book 2. So can you rewrite the ending to leave it open to that? And I thought about it a lot, and I decided to not change anything about what I'd already written, but just add that ominous epilogue to set up the sequel. And I wrote that in one sitting, and it's almost exactly the same now as it was when I wrote that and sent it to him. And then, then you do a few rounds of edits with your editor, and then you publish a book. That's the process.
So I have a question. So you sold it as a duology, but you did not have that second book written. Did you ever consider going the George R. R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss method of just not writing another novel?
Never at all. Because I am, like, if you give me a deadline, I will meet the deadline. Like, that's just who I am as a person. I do not, I will, like, it actually, no shade to those authors. I just cannot conceive of missing a deadline. I will, like, do everything I can. And fortunately, I have an incredibly supportive husband who, like, whenever I needed more time, would, take the kids and let me go to Starbucks and, like, get it out. Because at the time I was still working full time as an attorney. But once I got the offer, because it was a high monetary offer, I did quit my job as an attorney and go to writing full time, and have been able to do that since. And it's been really wonderful. Just like the most creative season of my life thus far. And it's been great. I'm really privileged to be in that position.
Did you ever apologize to that person who you were trying to defend because now they're in life in prison because you were thinking of a different book?
First of all, I won that hearing. Thank you so much. I am a great attorney in addition to being a great writer, and that client absolutely did not suffer.
No, the way you describe that is like, you're in the forefront doing this job. In the background, all this stuff is chaotic, is very much how you describe man.
That's just how I live my entire life, though, man. There's always more going on in my head than what I'm doing in the real world.
Which is why you
doesn't mean I don't do the real world well.
Aww. Speaking of which, I have a case I'd like you to talk to you about off camera.
I am inactive as an attorney right now, officially. So
damn. All right, Josh, you're up. You're my public defender.
Good luck, Josh.
I plead the fifth.
Disbarred. That's how that works, right? You just have to say it.
Sustained.
No.
Overruled.
You guys are just saying lawyer words.
Objection. I've played Phoenix Wright. I know how court works.
I love Phoenix Wright. What's funny is that as an attorney, it's really hard for me to engage with attorney-based media because most of it is like so incredibly incorrect. But Phoenix Wright, I really love. I think it's so
Phoenix
fun.
Wright is such a mishmash of like, there's no reason for the lawyer to be doing all of this detective work.
Yes, there is, because
there's
fun.
There's the discovery stage of any trial, but like the attorney going out into the field and like
I've
digging
gone out
up
into the
evidence
field
out
as
of
an
the dirt.
attorney. I absolutely
I
have.
understand going out in the field, but
Yeah.
like I just it seems like he's doing way too much
He
police
is
work to be
doing
a
way too
lawyer.
much policing. He's definitely doing a lot of things that are outside of his job, but it's a really fun game. And I just really like the music and the objection. Yeah.
Oh yes, yes. The anime style is just so perfect for that series.
Mhm.
Um, but for your books, was there a push at any point to move from YA to more spicy given the current trends of things?
They
Like
did
you've got your Fourth Wings, your Akatars.
right. Uh, they not from my US editor, my UK editor, was interested in adding some more of that in, and I said no, I did not want to. And fortunately, they respected that. And it wasn't a big fight. It wasn't like a conflict or anything.
Good.
She suggested it. I said I'm not going to do it, and that was the end of the conversation.
My wife has introduced me to some spicy romantasy stuff, and I genuinely like a lot of those books as far as the main story goes, but when it derails into the romantic, spicy bedroom stuff,
Yeah.
I'm like, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward, skip page, skip page. Just, I
Yeah.
don't care. Get me back into the dragon action. I don't care about the bedroom action.
Sometimes those could coincide, Josh.
In Fourth Wing, it kind of does, but at the same time, like, I don't care that their powers break an armoire that the narrator pronounces very French with the armoire.
Yeah, I was reading. There's a few books series that I've given up on when it's gotten that bad. Like was it Laura K. Hamilton, the Anita Blake series? Somewhere around book 5 or 6, or I don't know, one of the books, she develops a power that she has to sleep with people to keep it in check. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm done. You've saved the world twice. I don't need this. And then there was like the Dead Witch Walking series. After a while, I'm like, once she and the bad boy were getting together, and then another guy entered the contest, and then another person, and then a fairy queen wanted to step in to make her his bride. I'm like, I miss when you were just hunting ghosts and killing stuff, man. Why do I have to like skip past like chapters of like, and then they're slept together in weird ways? And okay, cool. There, you're back on the case, and then you were
You want a good version of that? Sex Criminals by Chip Zdarsky and
that's
Matt
actually
Fraction.
a really good book series. Comic books.
That's such a good comic book.
DL, have you read that?
I have not.
It's about bank robbers who can stop time when they have an orgasm. It's way cooler than it sounds, but that premise is so good.
Yeah, okay. It sounds terrible, but they're the two people,
there's secret organizations. There's so much good stuff. They're shitting in plants while your boss is frozen in time.
Basically what it is that these two people discover on accident that they don't know each other, but when the time stops, they have a long amount of time to just do stuff. And so I think she used it to like catch up on reading and other stuff, but then became bored because she like caught up on everything.
She's a librarian.
Yes.
Yeah, she likes to take up
and
her
they
time
discover
reading.
that they each have that power because everyone else has stopped but them when they're kind of strolling the streets, because he uses it to like avoid people. She uses it to catch up on stuff. And then it just so happens that they want to basically start becoming criminals. And after they've robbed a few places,
the city's shutting down her
Yes.
library, so they need the money to save the library. It's very altruistic.
they then discover after they've robbed a few places that there's actually a society that has those same powers that goes after people who do that. It's kind of like a raunchy 80s comedy, but it's so sweet the way they interact with each other, and it is a love story. I can tell that DL is not buying this at all.
Look.
It's not going on her list of books to read.
If it helps. Anyway, back on subject with your stuff. I'm really curious as to. I don't want to spoil it because I do strongly recommend anyone who enjoys romantic young adult stuff pick these books up. Not just because DL is a friend of the show, but because they are genuinely good books. But there's a point at the end of the first book that plays a huge role in the second book that allows Mance to, let's say, be in multiple places at once without going too far into it.
Mhm.
Was that something you had planned on getting into even before you had, like, signed on to do a sequel? Was that something you had wanted to build into if you were able to create a second book, and then it just kind of folded in as you were like, "Hey, we want 2 books up front,"
Mhm.
or was that just something that kinda happened because of you were asked to do a sequel?
That was absolutely already there before I knew I was gonna do a sequel. Like I said, I didn't change anything about the ending, I just added that epilogue to it. So I didn't necessarily expect to get into it more, but I did wanna sort of emphasize what originally when I wrote that scene with that power, I wanted to emphasize that it was complicated and that there were different parts of her that felt differently about what was happening in that situation. And then when I found out I was going to get a sequel, I thought about what I wanted to expand on, and that was the thing that I really wanted to get into. Um, and it became, yeah, the focus of the entire next book. And it was really fun to write her fracturing herself into different parts of herself and having them act independently because um, like the structure of the second book is you go between Mance and each of her different parts, and then you go between Mance without each of her different parts, what she's like with them missing. And that was so much fun for me to think through and write. Like, what would a person be like without this part of them? And how do each of these different emotions and ways that you carry those emotions affect your actions and affect how you see things. Um, it was really fun for me. I genuinely really enjoyed writing the sequel. I was the first sequel I've ever written because all the books I wrote before that were standalones. And it sort of, I pitched it as standalone with series potential without thinking it through at all. I was just like, sure, I could write a sequel. But it genuinely is hard to write a sequel because there are so many craft books on writing a book, and I found like zero on writing a sequel. But it's a different beast because you have the same world and the same characters, and you have this fear of ruining them, right? You want it to be something that adds to what you've already done, not something that breaks what you've already done. How do you go deeper, right? Without compromising what you've already accomplished. And it's a hard line to walk. And I really enjoyed the process. Brian is great to work with, my editor. And everyone that I worked with was great to work with. Emma in the UK was also great. And Karina, his editorial assistant, who is now an editor in her own right, also great to work with. But getting their feedback in real time as I was writing the book, like as I was drafting the book, was so much fun, so powerful, such a cool experience. But yeah, that seed was definitely there before I knew I was doing a sequel, and that's what I landed on that I wanted to dive into more, and it was such a rewarding process to do that.
I would like to congratulate you on doing something I appreciate. Towards the end of the books, you name drop the title of the book.
Yeah.
which I got to that part in The Beast We Bury. I'm like, and roll credits.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got and I was really deep into The Beast We Raised, and it was used in an emotional moment of conversation. I was like, oh, cool, I can stop reading. And I was like, I got like 20 more pages. I guess I should keep going.
Yeah, I really enjoy it when the title comes up. And
Yeah.
that actually wasn't the original title. So that was added in edits for the first one and then in drafting for the second one because I knew the title for the second one before going in. But it was really, yeah, I like doing that because I like it when it happens in books. And so I wanted to make sure I did it in my own book.
Yeah. Um, I will say something that I liked particularly as we get to explore in the second book Mance's different facets of her personality and how she deals with stuff. I was particularly happy towards the end of the book where where Silver, who goes through some stuff in the second book,
Mhm.
um, where he runs into a part of Mance he hasn't seen in a while, and
Uh-huh.
they furiously make out. And I was like, yeah.
A lot of people like that scene. I get a lot of comments on it.
Well, one I liked is just like, because I, as well as a reader, had been wondering, where has she been? And it
Right.
turns out she's mostly been here, but you didn't ask, now did you?
Yes, right.
Yes, so that aspect is hanging out there, and then she's like, "Oh, my boyfriend's here,"
Yeah.
and I loved that. I was just like, "Oh, you get some aggressive kissing."
She's an aggressive character.
Yeah,
I tried to actually have a kiss with each character that embodied, with each part of Mance that embodied that part of Mance. And yeah, it was enjoyable to write.
yeah. No, I like it. I don't think it's a spoiler that in a YA novel that the two main
There's
characters.
some kissing.
No,
Yeah.
the two main characters ended up together, kind of,
Yeah.
and there was some kissing, or snogging, as the British would say.
I was so disappointed they didn't change any of the slang to be British in the UK version. She was like, actually, we don't like it when, like, if they know it's an American author, they want to keep the slang the same. I was like, but I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it translated into British. Apparently, they don't do that.
Yeah, and
Even the spelling.
That's actually something I was really interested to bring up. When my wife had me listen to Fourth Wing, I don't know what it is, but when there's dragons involved, I expect there to be like a British accent.
Hmm.
If it's a fantasy with dragons, I want British accents. If it's fantasy world with no dragons, it can be whatever you want it to be. And so I'm listening to Fourth Wing and I'm hearing them drop F bombs. I'm hearing them talk about bedroom time and all these other things. And I'm just like, why isn't she British? Like, what is happening here? It was so hard for me to adjust to the idea of an American accented person talking about this fantasy world. And I was just like, this sounds like it's just happening in San Diego at the Marine base down there. Like, why is this not more fantastical? Whereas with this book, you settle in immediately with Brenda. Like, she just brings you into Mance so perfectly. And like I was in from the moment I set in, like once I was done adjusting from my personal reading. um, I really appreciated the world that it felt universal, not like kind of pigeonholed into a certain fantasy realm.
Yeah, I think that's a genre convention in general because historically in fantasy, the a large portion of what's been popular is sort of the sword and sorcery set in medieval Britain kind of feeling setting, fantasy. And one of the things I actually love about fantasy as a genre is that it's gotten significantly more diverse in the last couple decades, and that you have incredible fantasy books coming from all different regions and cultures, and I love that. But yeah, the dragons with the American accent is a funny one.
We all know dragons have Scottish accents.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Um,
just like Russian submarine commanders, it's a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
so the last question I have is, as a writer, how do you challenge yourself to balance like tropes? Like there's a formula to telling a story and a journey.
Mhm.
Most people would recognize the hero's journey trope. But like for you, how did you try to like approach something where you're like, okay, this could be really tropey. Maybe if I twist it in this way, the trope isn't as noticeable, or it's obvious, but at least I'm doing something different with it.
Hmm. I am of the opinion that tropes are not bad things. You just have to handle them, obviously, with care and nuance. Um, there were some tropes in each book that were pure just fan service, like the one bed trope is just like people just love that, I didn't really twist that. I did that straight. But then there are some tropes that I use that um are significantly different than you would think only hearing the trope alone. For example, we have in the second book a forced engagement, and she doesn't end up with that guy, you know? The forced engagement is bad the whole time. Neither of them ever grows to love the other person, although they do certainly grow to understand each other and relate on the things that they've been through. It never crosses a point where they end up together because he's not the love interest. I mean, he never tries to be, you know? Um, so I think it's just a balancing act. It's a good thing to be aware of the tropes that you're using and to be intentional about whether you're playing them straight or whether you're twisting them a little bit or whether you're completely subverting them. Um, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah,
You just
definitely.
pay attention to it. It's good to know about it. It's good to know what you want to do with it.
And I was, to be very blunt, I was very happy you avoided the misunderstanding drama of
Yeah,
the potential love triangle, whereas you just went like, "I understand him. I'm not in love with him. How
yeah.
could you even think that I could be in love with him?" And as someone who's been through, like, cheating trauma
Mm,
in my life, like, I understood where Silver was coming from. Like, that
yeah.
insecurity, I fully understand.
I think it's fair
And
when your love interest is engaged to another person to be kind of insecure about it. Yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, I for a brief moment was about to be on board with the quadrangle love angle, okay? For a brief moment, because I was like, you know what? I kind of like her. You know, she has silver, almost white-ish silver hair. His
Mhm.
name is Silver. Okay. They both like to punch each other. This is fun. And
Yeah, well,
they're
they are
engaged to
each sort of
others.
foils for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, Silver's the Kiar, Reltis's love interest, is a foil for Silver, and Reltis is a foil for Mance, and each of them have something to learn from each other, and I did do that intentionally. But yeah, I personally am not a huge fan of love triangles, and I just didn't wanna write one, and
Well,
I didn't
that's why you did
I
a
wanted it
quad.
to be yeah, no.
I mean, I've read some weird books where it's just like, fine, you're engaged to him. Well, then I'm gonna steal his girl, and then
Yeah,
it's like this hatred double wedding where where
yeah.
they just. I'm like, she's a bit of a has a dark streak to her. Miss DL Taylor does.
I do.
There are some things I was not expecting, which is also part of the reason
But so
why.
the thing is,
Yeah.
the magic is dark and the world is dark,
Hmm.
but the romance itself is sweet.
Oh yeah,
And
no, that.
that was a line that I wanted to draw. It's
Yeah,
not a toxic romance. It's not a dark romance. These are two people in a dark world in dark circumstances who sometimes have misunderstandings and struggles and secrets and motives they don't share.
yeah,
But the way that they relate to each other is always on a healing trajectory. It's always
yeah,
on an understanding, loving way. This is not a toxic hate love line
yeah.
situation.
It's not a red flag romance.
Yeah, no, it's not.
No, which actually,
Not an "I can change him" or "I can change
yeah,
her."
Right.
yeah, which those are some of the things I absolutely just despise. Is like,
There's room
yeah.
for all kinds of stories in the
Oh
world,
yes, no, no,
That was just for me for this
yeah,
particular story the line that I wanted to draw that there was darkness in the world and the magic, but the romance itself and the character's trajectory was in a positive redemptive
no,
healing.
and I absolutely love it. Like I prefer stories like that. Like much like Josh, like having been in relationships other than my current one, which
Good
every
say.
every one of them ended up with me being cheated on. Like when that suddenly stumbles into like the love story, I almost always am like, I'm out. I don't give a crap
Yeah, and
here.
for me too, I don't like cheating plot lines.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy them. It's not for me. And again, there's room for all kinds of
Oh,
stories in
there.
the world.
Yeah.
And the beauty of art is that different people like different things and different people relate to different things. And I think that that's amazing.
No, no, I
But
agree.
for me, yeah, I'm not a fan of the cheating plot line.
Yeah. So you said you had a 2-book deal. And according to your Instagram and TikToks, you're currently writing the third book about something different, something new?
I am currently writing a book. I cannot talk about it. I do not have a book deal for a third book right now. I'm writing it and then I'm going to pitch it, but I
Okay.
cannot tell you at this time whether it will ever make its way into the world. But I'm really enjoying writing it. It's a different it's a different kind of book. Like,
Well,
obviously, there's similar it's still teens with magic. I'm always gonna write teens with magic and big emotions. That's sort of my thing. But they're different big emotions this time.
well, there's a sword. I know that much, at least from your Instagram. And you're learning how to stage roll.
I am. I'm learning sword tricks and, acrobatics and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's fun.
No. Yeah. No, I loved your books. I love a book that has a good romance. And um, we have a mutual friend named Richard Pulver.
Full name, wow.
Hey, he's been published. He's out there. He he made the mistake of I read one of his novels. I don't think he ever released it. It was called Godtown, and there was a character in there that I'm like, I need more about this character. He's like, they're in the second one a lot more. I'm like, cool. And then he never wrote a sequel, so I was very upset
Yeah.
about that. So
Yeah.
therefore,
Is the sequel not Hades Town?
that's why he's been going to New York so much. I thought I recognized his voice on the soundtrack. Oh, okay. But so just so you know, until we have it out, I'm going to assume that the book you're working on is about Mara.
It's not, but go ahead.
Be prepared for
Be
disappointment, Alex.
prepared.
I've heard that
No, it's
before
a
too.
completely different world, completely different characters.
Awesome.
I needed a break from that world.
Yeah.
You get so deep into it, and creatively, I just wanted to do something else and refresh my brain a little bit. So, which isn't to say I'll never go back to that world. I'm
Yeah.
open to it, but for now, I'm really enjoying doing something
Well,
completely different.
we're going to spoil what it's about because I got some secret information. It's a craft book about martial arts. That's
No.
oh, I was
I am not qualified to write a book about martial arts. Did you watch the video I posted? I was not good yet.
hey, as a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I would be willing to give you a glowing review of that.
All right. Well, DL, it's been a pleasure. Let's start wrapping things up here. Please let everyone know where they can find you on your social media platforms and websites.
I can be found at DL Taylor Books on Instagram and TikTok. My website is dltaylorbooks.com. And books available wherever books are sold.
Thank you so much for your time and chatting with us. I know Alex twisted your arm to get you here, but
He
we
really
appreciate
did.
his
He
effort.
really didn't twist my arm.
And if you want Alex to twist your arm, you can do that on our Discord. Alex, let people know about that.
It's tsmackpod@gmail.com. You can click the link below. It's where, for now, we post all of basically the news, reviews, thoughts, and opinions that we have on stuff. And also, you can hear how excited I am about watching The Pit every week. Love Noah Wiley.
You can find the links to all of DL's what's the word? The drugs are still working on me. You can find the links to all of DL's social media platforms in the episode description, as well as links to her books, if you would be so inclined to purchase them. I strongly recommend it. I know Alex does too. You can follow us on our social media platforms, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, Facebook, YouTube. We are at Talking Smack Pod. You can email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com if you've got reviews, questions, concerns, things you're watching, reading, whatever it may be. You can let us know about it. Thank you, Leo Allen, for our musical themes, Beppo for our original avatars, Retro Ale Studios for our Ricky avatar. Please like, subscribe, rate, review on your podcatcher of choice. Alex, thank you for being here. DL, thank you once again so much for being here. But most importantly, listeners, thank you for being here and taking the time to listen. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like, subscribe button. If you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, leave a comment. DL, there's a TV show out there people should be watching. What is that TV show?
I'm really into Star Trek right now.